Good morning. How are you? Let me find you all. Are you well? Did you have a good weekend? Let me turn the volume down. And find you on the Book of Faces. Hey, those last couple of minutes just snuck up on me like you wouldn't believe. There I was chatting about tomorrow's show with Jane, going, oh, I think we should do this, I think we should do that. Did you have a good weekend? Was it everything that you wanted it to be and more? That is the question. That is the question. Did you have a good Father's Day and all of that? So, on today's show, we have got for you beautiful William Morris. It's the new William Morris collection. It is Granada and it is super, super special. It's just, well, it's exquisite, isn't it? Absolutely exquisite. And it is available either in the bundle for the applique wall hanging or cut to order by the half meter. I can't remember if we did we do a fat quarter complete bundle in the end, Jem? Half meter complete bundle. Excellent. There we go. That's what we've got. Although one of the fabrics hasn't turned up. I would just take the price of 1/2 meter off and put the complete. Yeah, we suddenly realised this morning we were missing one. The slightly incomplete collection, almost complete collection. The complete collection of what we've got. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I mean, why would you actually receive what you ordered 5 months ago? Why would you? Why would you do that, Gemma? Why? How would you? Let's see who we've got with us this morning. Jan and Laurie, good morning. Good morning, Kay. Good morning, Colette. Nice bag again, Colette. Good morning, Alison. Good morning, Leslie. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, Helen. Oh, raining here. More like October and June. It is more like October, isn't it, than June? It's blinking horrible. A good day to stay in and sew. That's what I say. And then we've got Elizabeth and Donna. Good morning. And Rebecca. Morning, Tash. All the cape has arrived and I'm just casually stroking it. Might never use it. We're not here to judge. We are fabric enablers. That's what we are here. Yes. Good morning, Patricia. Good morning, Marion. Good morning, other Elizabeth. And good morning, Pam and Jacqueline and Joyce and Karen. Karen, thank you for your parcel. Very interesting. Karen's already got her order in. Of course, of course. And my pizza has just arrived. Yeah, so with the subscriptions, we've sent out loads of them. We're waiting for a few more fabrics to come in. So there might be a few days delay for some of you. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Myra's here in body, but not in mind. Whippet Sam decides he prefers 4 a.m. for a toilet break. It's a great time of the day. Great time of the day. Morning, Steph. Soggy in London. Morning, Rachel. Hello. Morning, Ali G. We've got lots of Alisons this morning. Good morning. Good morning, Margaret. Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Joan and Maggie. Do you know, we were talking about this the other day, Margaret Smiths. We have got 5 Margaret Smiths now that watch us. Yeah. And every time we get excited, and we just say, yeah, of course, we supply Maggie Smith. Which is true. We do, clearly. Morning, Kirsty. I'm waiting on these from the craft store. So if you have them, hoping mine will be on their way too. Oh, actually, yeah, somebody else said to me, got a bit cross on Facebook because theirs hadn't arrived yet. I'm like, well, ours only. Please, 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 if you are buying fabric from the craft store, know that you are buying it from the craft store and not from me. Okay, unless I will always say on the show, if it's Natasha makes fabric, then it's coming from me. But if I do, like if I were to do a William Morris show on there, it's not coming from me. I cannot hold the quantity, and it's too much of a risk for a small business for me to hold the quantity that the craft store sell. So I do it on behalf of my supplier. but it means it's not coming from me. So please, I mean, we get customer services queries for the craft store, and it just means that I'm paying for the craft store's customer services. Please, please, please be aware of where you bought your fabric from, because I've had people post nasty stuff on Facebook before now, saying that their order hasn't arrived and it's not been from me. One lady got upset, it wasn't even fabric I'd done a show on. I'm like, guys, come on. So yeah, just know, because we will always endeavour to get your order out quickly, and if we can't, if there's a delay or anything else, you will hear from us. Okay. It gets really confusing, and why would anybody know? I don't ever expect anyone to understand how different companies work, but that's just so, it's like a public information announcement for you. There you go. Jane says, morning, cardi and slippers on this autumnal day. I've got socks on, that's as far as I went. Oh yeah, wet in Suffolk as well, Laurie. Oh, I get you. Morning, Lisa. Are you feeling any better? Morning, Rona. Morning, Lo. Hello, hello, hello. We do have a lot of Maggie Smiths, Elizabeth, it's true. Alison, I love that you now spell out how it needs to be said and not how it's actually spelt, because I forget every time. Oh, Lo, that does not sound fun. Applying for probate. Ooh, good luck. We are thinking of you. Oh, thank you, Jacqueline. She says, what a gorgeous top. I felt it was, you know, in keeping with today's show. Oh yeah, also disappointed with the fabrics, no aardvarks. We discussed this yesterday, and Lo's always disappointed if there are no aardvarks featured. And I figured that William Morris's school report might have read something along the lines of, clearly shows artistic promise, however lacks imagination due to a lack of aardvarks. I think that would be fair. Would we not say? Right. Oh, Ali, is it? Yeah, I bet it is a bit breezy in the old Staff's Moorlands. I bet it is. Right. Okay. So, you know, we started the Orphan block challenge, and I said to you that we were going to up the ante. So the last one that we brought you was just a lovely block, and then we made it into a simple envelope back cushion. And I said the next one that we will do will have piping on it, and then the one we do after that will have a zip, and we'll just keep adding in different variations, different variants, so that you can mix and match. If you're collecting the series, you can mix and match what you want to add in and how you want to finish your cushion or your bag or whatever it is. So we've already done in the Orphan block series, we've done how to turn an Orphan block into an envelope back cushion. We've done how to turn an Orphan block into a simple tote bag, and now we're going to look at adding a piped edge. I've done a lot of research now on piped edges and discovered the ways that I want to do them. Because as anything, there's just so many different ways. So we're going to pop the old applique out of the way for now. And we are going to take a look. Do you want to see the William Morris fabric up close to start off with? Should we do that? I am having a little bit of a... I'm not going to show you the applique up close, that's for sure. Do you know why? Because I had a little bit of a nightmare with the steam to seam. Steam to seam is a fabulous medium for applique, but the hint is in the name. You do need an iron that will have steam, and mine blew up, overheated and blew up. So this was after obviously I had cut everything and stuck it all down. I got to the steam stage and my iron just went. I got the new steam iron because the other one no longer steamed, and this one just overheated and went. I've never seen anything quite like it. It was a bit scary. So thank goodness I was here and I hadn't gone out and left the iron on. That would not have been a good idea. Right, I'm going to show you these in kind of colorways. Let's have a look at this. So this is your Granada, and Gemma knows all of the, she's probably put it on here. So this is your charcoal, and this is your indigo. So you've got sort of a bluey background there and a blacky background on there. I sort of go pinks and reds. That's where I kind of see it. So this is your same but different. That's hoovers and irons really aren't your thing. No, Claire, you're quite right. They are absolutely not my thing. Not even remotely. Not even remotely. Now, obviously, you can mix and match, but I'll just sort of like that. Wet tea towel instead of steam next time, perhaps. Potentially, Elizabeth. It's just that with the steam to steam, you need real heavy duty steamage. This is one that will go across the board. Absolutely, for sure. And that's the one that I've done the branches out of in the Applique. So when this fabric came in and I put out on Facebook, oh, what to do with it? And loads of you said cushions and things like that, which is just beautiful, absolutely. And of course, don't forget, we've got things like, because I know that Next have got this in their homeware department. So don't forget, of course, that you can also grab our tea cozy pattern and stuff like that, and then, you know, have this in your kitchen, have this in your home, and then. So obviously, the one that hasn't arrived yet is this in blush. But how beautiful is that? You've got enough of the tones that you can use either or. It's entirely up to you. And I did get extra of this fabric because I knew it would be popular. Well, because I mean, look at it. Look at it. So we're going to use that for the cushion today. And we're going to just take a look at some of the key points of the applique. When I was working on Sewing Quarter with producer Chris, he just always called applique for some reason. I don't know if we'd had an American guest or something that had called it that, but that was just always his thing. And if we look in this is what I've done the border. Look at, you've got bluebells and all sorts in here. It really is rather beautiful, isn't it? And again, that's the same as that. But they're just standalone, gorgeous. Someone said a Roman blind. I could see a Roman blind out of that. It would be phenomenal. I need to look into how to make a Roman blind. It can't be that difficult. Surely, surely to goodness, surely. Do you know what else works beautifully with all of this, by the way? And that is our Midnight Velvet. Ooh, yes. Can I interest you in a spot of bramble in charcoal? I have to start doing something quite interesting. Oh, hello computer, making funny noises in the corner there. And then your bramble in indigo. Oh, the depth of colour in this is just gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm going to run out. Oh yeah. So there's me going, what shall I make? What shall I make? You know, most people said like a cushion, or maybe our block keeper was another popular one. We need to revisit that at some point, don't we? And Gemma comes out with, sends me a picture of a full tapestry, like a 6-foot tapestry, and she goes, you can make something like this. It's like, you know, that's the Tree of Life tapestry. Like, she's like, yeah. Like, no. Just like, no, not going to happen. So, and then I looked at the Tree of Life and it was really stunning, but it's a whole blinking tree, you know. It was Father's Day yesterday. A whole tree was not going to happen. So I settled for a branch inspired by. It's like the survivor's twig rather than the Tree of Life. But I like it. I'm very happy with it. But the whole point was, the point to the story, and I will get there, sorry, I ramble, is that this fabric here, when I looked at all of the Tree of Life, this fabric here is kind of the background that you see in the Tree of Life anyway. And if I just sort of pop that out there, you can see the tree anyway in there. So that is your background to the, are we going to put the tree of survival, the twig of survival? Is that what we're going to call it? Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't have the best ringtone. ringtone, ring to it. And then, oh, the honeysuckle. Look at the honeysuckle. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And this is it in the indigo colourway. I mean, again, that one as a Roman blind as well, stunning. A lot of these, you know, if you just want to pipe the edges and just have that for your cushion, would be phenomenal. Anyway, what's that? Trust Gemma to go extra large. I know, Maya, right? I know. Oh, another Alison here. Hi, Ali. Loving the William Morris fabric. Do you know what? Yeah. I love the kimonos you're wearing lately. Did I make them? No, Geraldine, but we do have a kimono pattern coming soon, which is a pattern hack. Oh, look at the apple. So pretty. To the Lisa Chandler sarongs. So you can have Lisa Chandler kimono-y floaty things. I know, right? And then this is it. Look at the apple. Isn't it beautiful? And then this, last ones to show you are the stickers on the other end. Oh, this is Jasmine. Jasmine in aqua. Don't those beautifully. And then Jasmine, and I use this for my flowers in blush. Ooh. Oh, you can see how very badly I cut that in a hurry. There we go, turn that over. So yeah, I did my flowers in that, but, yeah. I mean, it's just a William Morris mountain, isn't it? Don't mind if I do. Yeah, so you can sort of see that this sort of side is kind of your blush side, and then this is more your, if I start to I'll put them back on the, I'll put them back in sort of that order, sort of, so that you can, there you go, you can have another look of them as I start to restack over here for you. Of course they are interchangeable, of course they are, obviously. There we go. I think I need to spin the other way as I put these back. I'm actually making myself dizzy this morning. There we go. I heart these very, very much. Very, very much. So yeah, if you are looking for the different colour collections, then the indigo and the aqua go together, and the blush and the charcoal, you know, as a sort of rule of thumb. That's how I'm putting them back over here. Is it going to be like one of those things where you then have to remember what's been removed? What was that again? Can't remember what it was called. La 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 la, they're a bit lush. Oh, no, wrong side. There we go. Have a little look at him. Ooh, yeah, well, I pop these back. And there you go. That is your rather stunning William Morris collection. And what you choose is entirely up to you. Now, I have not put a bundle together for the cushion for the simple reason that everyone's going to have their different, yeah, because, yeah, whichever fabrics you decide to go for, you can do it out of that. Actually, I'll show you how this is created. So, very, very basic cushion, okay? Basic but effective. So, we've got a flange. Yep, Gemma's like, you just, yeah. And then we've just got the border around here. and then just finishing it off with a piped edge around there. And it just, like any work of art, it is then framed. Now, if you grab the instructions, it could be that you're putting a pieced, an orphan block in there, absolutely no problem at all. Whether you then want to skip out the flanged instruction, then do. Or it might be you've got part of a panel or something that's going into here. Whatever it is that just needs that extra little bit of framing. I do love a flanged border because it just gives a little bit of interest to it, and it just, because it's not actually attached. For those of you going, what is it? That's a very weird word. Yes it is, yes it is. But it's just a folded piece of fabric that's in there, that's just, there you go, just going to give you that little bit of interest there. So I've fussy cut and picked my scene. We've flanged, we've added the border, and then we've added the piping. Okay, so we're gonna, I'm quite proud of that bit of piping. It's the best bit of piping I've ever done, and I studied for hours and hours and hours how to do the best piping, and so I've sort of amalgamated all the tips and hints that I found, did a lot of research for you, and yeah, hopefully, if it's, but again, you might have your own way to do it. Often if they're, what am I going to say? Often. So unless we have the prim piping, which we're struggling to get hold of at the moment, the prim piping stuff that has the adhesion, the adhesive bit on it, but it's an expensive way to pipe with that adhesive strip on it, so it just holds everything together. And again, I wanted to find a better way to do it so that I didn't have to, whenever there was a piped border alert, I didn't have to hand it over to Jane and go, please could you do this for me, because I'm not confident I'm going to do it right. And that's all it is. It's just an issue of confidence. So to that end, what I would say to you is, if you are going for the applique and you want to make the cushion as well, grab yourself a 1/2 meter of the picturey one. It has a better name than that. The picturey one. You know what I mean, the brook. And then you can always use your leftover pieces, because there is a lot of leftover fabric. Maybe just for the border, pick your border, but everything else you can put together from defo from everything else, from your leftovers. The kit for that gives you fat quarters. You've got 8 fat quarters in there. Now a fat quarter is of course the background, and a fat quarter has to be that branch as well. So that's 2 fat quarters already, but look how much of the branch fabric you're going to have left over. And then, yeah, so the other 6 fat quarters, you just take little snippets from, but I've put a fat quarter in there, A, so you've got lots left over, and B, so that you can fussy cut different bits in. Yeah, I mean, and also one of them does your border as well. It's up to you. But what you could do, you see, is you could do your flowers in your border fabric, and then you'd have a whole untouched fat quarter, which you could then use here. It's up to you. It's up to you. Let's see. It's up to you. Oh, Geraldine, let's go. Things on charge. Things on charge. Right. So let's have a little chat about fussy cutting first of all. So 1/2 meter. We'll do 2 cushions. Easy, easy, easy. Oh, you can see. Now, I'm going to use my mid-size creative grid because I want to do a 12.5 inch thing. This is 12.5 inches. So it's great because then I've got the crosshair through here, so I can if I want those centered this time, then I can absolutely do that and have everything else surrounding it. If I want to do it maybe this way, like that, so that I have these guys here, but I also have these sneaking in there, or maybe bring it down here so that I have these here and these there, then you can do it that way. It's entirely up to you. Now I've cut this so I can't have these as my main focus, but if I'd have come to it earlier, I could have done it that away and had those guys as the focus. So just have a think about what you want to be your main focal point here. I did it so that these guys were in 1/3. There's kind of a rule of thirds with art and things like that, that, you know, the eye feels very happy with a third, a third, a third, which means then, and it doesn't have to be, you know, strictly that, but if it can sort of be broken down into that sort of way, the eye feels happy, which means that we've got these guys down a third. Yeah, just over a third coming in there. And it means that actually this greenery there is coming down 2/3. So we're still coming in with that third situation here. But if you want to have like the base of that tree in, just drop it down slightly. It's just, yeah. Or, you know, either go a third or go with them slap bang in the middle. But if you go for them slap bang in the middle, then you've got the trees all around framing it. And it's a different look. Completely different look. So it's up to you. I'm going to pop these guys over here. I'm not going to go as far as to get his butt in it. But. No. So I think we'll probably go there for now. Okay. So 12.5 is to there. 12.5 is to there. So that's where using your creative grids, if you're fussy cutting smaller pieces, then the creative grids fussy cutting grid is really useful. It goes up to 9.5 inches, so it wasn't quite big enough on this occasion. And then it's going to spin it around. Just check. Do you know what I will just do? There we go. And then just realign. There's my 0 line there. And I've got all my numbers going up the side there. So that's where I'm looking at. And you see, normally I really wouldn't advocate, you know, turn to the side, all of that kind of shizzle, but the thing you need to bear in mind is that your blade in the stripology ruler is in the stripology ruler. Like, it's not going anywhere else. Someone's going to get a good scrap bag with that in it, aren't they? Right, let's pop the iron on. Good old Prim Mini iron coming to the rescue. Whee! It really did. Do you want to see what it did? Honestly, I went to press something and there we go, look. Look. It scorched my pressing mat. It scorched the top layer of my pressing mat, which is terrifying because this is wool. So that just does not normally happen. But I have to say, the wool, I mean, it only got the top surface of it. It got that hot. Yeah, you see it's coming away. But the table underneath was not damaged at all. So, I mean, if that's not a good advert for a good old wool pressing mat, I do not know what is. Right. Let's turn off the steam on. I then, of course, completely forgot that my little Prim irons are also little mini steam irons. So that's pretty cool. Now, with your flange, I had a little play around with this. I originally cut this to 1.5 inches. It's too much for me anyway. By the time you take a 1/2 inch off there, it's going to be quite big. So in the end, I cut, I'm just going to trim this down to so I would have cut instead, this is at the moment, this is 3/4 of an inch. I'm just going to trim it back so that it's going to be a 1/2 inch. So I would have cut my strips to just an inch. Okay, so I am just going to trim those back. And again, you know, have a little play. If you want a wider flange, then do. But for me, I just wanted it to be there, but not too there, if you get what I mean. If you get what I mean. So then this bit is then 1/2 an inch. And of course, with my creative grid, I've got that 1/2 inch mark there. In fact, it's too difficult to line it up in one go, doubled up. So I'm just going to trim back. I mean, you will just cut this as an inch and fold it in half, and that will be far easier rather than having to mess around like this. Whee! There we go. This is the beauty of your long ruler, right? So what we'll be left with then is, so you will cut an inch. And then fold it in half and press it. Now what I would say to you is cut these down to, and I'll just take the edge off there because it's got some selvage on it. So we know we cut this to 12.5, didn't we? So what I would like to do therefore is trim this down to leave me a little bit of excess. Okay, so that I'm not struggling and I've got a little bit extra both sides. So I've just added like a 1/2 inch on, and then I can just trim the whole thing back when I'm done. But there's nothing worse than, yeah, just struggling a bit for it. Now just make yourself aware, you're going to need 4 of those obviously because we're going to do that on every side. I was all prepared and of course did it too fat. There we are. That way is my 1/2 inch. There. That may well be all that I actually need to cut. You never know, you never know. Ah, perfecto. There we go. So that's those cut. Now, what we're going to do is line up all the raw edges down one side. If you want to pin it or whatever, you can. But we'll do that side, then we'll do that side. Then we'll trim it back, and then we'll do those. And that will be the same order that we add the sashing in. So we've got that uniformity going on. Don't have to. It's just what I would like to do. Increase your stitch length, and we are going to go for a, if you can, about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so you want to be within that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Absolutely, so that when you do then stitch on your sashing, this stitching doesn't show. So this is just a basting stitch. If you feel confident, then by all means skip out this bit and just go straight for the whole sashing with this included, because obviously there's no pressing back or anything like that. That's, you know, that is it. That's it basted in place, ready to go. So we'll go opposites, folded edge pointing in, all your raw edges to one side. And we'll just pop that on. If you want to pin it, then do. But you know me and pins, I just hurt myself. Here we go. There we go. Right, and have those kittens moved that camera again? They have, haven't they? Yes. Pesky, pesky kittens. And then again, just line up, trim back. And then that just saves you worrying about lining everything up for the sake of a tiny little snippet of fabric. And then we'll just line up the other sides, baste those, and then add the sashing. And then that will be the front done. So this is a really, really simple one. So maybe some of you have got like the beautiful, Alison Glass did that beautiful circular panel, didn't she? That would look stunning as a center point here, you know, flanged and sashed. Why not? Why not? Give it a go. Give it a go. Have a little play. And again, this can then be made into a bag front if you want. But or whatever you want to do, it's giving you options, isn't it? Because so often we have fabric that we absolutely adore and we don't necessarily know what to do with it. So the patterns are there to give you inspiration when, you know, maybe your sojo is a little lacking. We all have those days. Of course we do. No one likes a flat soju, now do they? Right, last one. And then we should start. Just remind me to change my stitch length. I've done that before and stitched a bag on the longest stitch length known to man and gone, oh, well, that's annoying, isn't it? Yes, it is. Very, very, very annoying. There we are. Now, so. Let's trim that back. And this was one of those things that I didn't want to assume knowledge. I know that this is probably teaching so many of you to suck eggs, but at the end of the day, you can look at the pretty fabrics. But there will be some who are new. More and more, we're getting viewers saying, oh, hi, I'm new. You know, where do I start? What do I do? This is a great starting point, a really easy starting point. Okay, so we are fully flanged. Not necessarily something that you will hear all that often. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe. What do I know? Hey, what do I know? Now, borders. Your border your sashing border, whatever you want to call it, will determine the end size of your cushion. Now, let's see. What size did I do here? Well, that's looking like a 2-inch sashing there. If I'd have wanted to make the cushion, if I had a cushion pad that was bigger, then you can go for more. So just to give you an idea here, this is a 4-inch strip here. That's your 2-inch strip. So that's gonna make it a really big cushion. Maybe you don't want to to dominate. This is quite a strong print, so I went with a 2-inch because it just, for me, knowing that I was going to put a dark border on there, that worked for me. Maybe you want a fussy cut. Again, that's up to you. And the other thing I would say, don't know how much of this I've got left now, is when you have a fabric like this, this is the first bit that I've cut, because when I've gone to do this, what I have wanted were strips along there for the base, and again you can fussy cut these, and then, you know, on that one over there I fussy cut through. Now I don't know that I've got enough left to necessarily fussy cut, but I would invite you to have a look at your pattern and fussy cut it, you know, accordingly if you so desire. But for this, let's use what we've got, and let's cut that down. Let's just double check. I think, no, it is not a 4-inch. Shock horror. Well, let's use that anyway, shall we? And let's have that bluebell in there. Just double check that is 2 inches, isn't it? Yeah. And we'll give that a quick press. Okay, so yeah, now you see the way that this is now cut means that I will, when I cut my next strip, I'm going to be cutting technically through the wrong side, but I need another 2-inch strip, so we'll ignore that for now, and you can do better. You can do better. In fact, if I go for this bit here, then you might not notice so much. Again, this is for demo purposes only, but you just, if you're using something like this, do pay attention to what it is, what the pattern is going to look like, and make those choices accordingly. So we then take this strip here and pop it there. Now again, look at the pattern. If there's anything that you want centered or anything like that, just take that into account. Change my stitch length, I hear you all shout at me. Change your stitch. Yes, I will change my stitch length, and just take off that end bit there. And here we go. So we're going to go in the same order that we flanged in. Gemma tells me that you cannot have too much flange on a Monday morning. I didn't want to comment on that. Didn't really know what to say, to be fair. So unusually for me, I didn't say anything. I know, right? What a shock. And we will press these back. I'm just going to put the opposite side on first. Just take off that edge. And off we go. It's a funny old word though, isn't it? Again, if you feel more comfortable, pin, 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 all over the place. It's entirely up to you. Pin, 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 pin. And then press back. Gosh, everyone's ringing me this morning. This is what happens, you see, on a Monday. Everybody rings. We go, what do you want? What do you want? Now, when you press back, of course, you don't want to press back your flange. Oh no. So again, like I say, we've done it in exactly the same order. So just, and this is where something like your Print Mini Iron is great, because it will just get in there And again, I've overcut just a little bit, and then I can easily trim it back. So we're keeping everything centered and squared rather than cutting everything absolutely precisely and then having it slip a little bit. That's so annoying when that happens. So just simply overcut a little bit and then we're all happy. That's what we're looking for, isn't it, this morning? A bit of happiness. Yeah. Right. I tell you what, these next scrap bags are going to have some fabulous fabrics, darling, aren't they? Gorgeous. Right, so one will go there, and again, cut it a bit long. One will go bink, 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 up there. And that will go in scrap. Alrighty, so again, bearing in mind, I've sort of got that centered. It's coming up through that tree. So that's what I mean, just, it doesn't matter if you don't. And the first few bags and cushions and things like that, I was so busy just trying to stitch a straight line, it didn't even occur to me to even worry about placement or anything like that. I just, you know, I was just pleased to get the job done. But now there is that time where you can next step up, think about pattern placement, think about, you know, like I say, the rule of thirds as well is always a lovely one. Just little things to know that if, you know, that you probably learned at school, like if you want movement in something, then you put it on a diagonal. So if when you're designing a quilt, if you want your eye to travel around, that's why Irish chains are so great, because it would pull your eye through because they're on the diagonal and it will make your eye travel around the quilt. These little things just add that bit of detail, and if you paid attention in your art class, you were probably taught it. If, like most people, you messed around and used it as a DOS lesson, then you possibly do. I was not that person. I loved my art. Absolutely loved my art lessons. If I did not get an A star for my art, every homework, there was trouble. My dad used to help me every Sunday evening do my artwork. And there would always be the slightly raised eyebrow and question of, why did you leave it till the last minute? Now, those who work with me and who know me will know that actually nothing has changed. Poor SJ was messaging me yesterday going, and what about Tuesday's show? Have you made that yet? I'm like, The wall hanging design and everything took me 11 hours to do. We'll sort later on this afternoon. So again, 11th hourish, we'll sort tomorrow's shape. But I do know what we're doing. We've got some beautiful Tilda fabrics. Again, the entire shipment didn't all arrive in one go. So we have got 3 of the brand new fabrics and 3 of the brand new chambrays. And so we're going to be looking at what we can make with those, knowing that the rest of the collection is not far behind now. I do feel for them. Yeah, they made a horrible error in splitting the collection, and half of it went on a shipping container and the other half went on a different one, and only one of those shipping containers has arrived. The rest is doing goodness knows where, because they've had another COVID outbreak in China. So they've had to shut an entire port, which means that lots of people's fabrics are once again delayed. Gotta love it. Couldn't write it, could you? I don't really know what it's like to run a business in normal times. I don't know. What is normal? Don't know. Right, let's give that a little press. There you go. Claire says, I'm always doing things last minute. I would do my homework on the bus journey to school the day it was due. Oh, I wasn't that bad. Probably because my mum used to drive me in because I hated catching the train, and it always seemed to rain on the days I'd catch the train. So she used to run me into school, and she would absolutely have a fit if I was still doing homework in the car. That would not have done. But no, there was always a slight raised eyebrow and the conversation about why I would leave things until the last minute, especially when I knew my art was going to take me like 3 or 4 hours. Most people got theirs done in half an hour. To be fair, it was only meant to be a half-hour homework. But me, oh no, I went in for like photographic replication of my art. There was nothing bish bash bosh about that, let me tell you. Right, so we now have a cushion front. And can you see, now that this is framed, if we'd have done a much wider framing in this instance with such a contrast thing, it might have detracted from it. So when I'm doing this, I want to go darker, for sure. Absolutely for sure. I could have gone with a plain, like I could have picked up this midnight here. Absolutely. And that would really work. If you've got a plain in your stash, I would suggest you go for midnight with this one. It's going to sit really beautifully because I don't think that's a black. I really don't. They've called it charcoal, which suggests to me that it's, well, I don't know, but there's lots of blue, so it would just tie in that. I have gone for, oh, apparently quite a lot of this. And I have to say, I think I cut that too narrow. How about this? Have I cut this wider? There is a formula for working out your how wide you need to cut for your binding, but that does somewhat mean that you need to know how wide your binding is in the first place, your piping is rather. And, you know, obviously, mine's just on a roll, and I didn't know. So that was of no use to man nor beast, quite frankly. And this is actually how I do like to work, is keeping it on the roll, because it saves any kind of waste. So that is already on there, ready to pipe. It's probably not enough actually. This was left over from the one I did the other day. No, I will need to add some more onto there, which, you know, I can unpick and add on and pull that down a bit. But it just means that at the end I haven't, you see, if I'd have wasted all of that cord and cut it there, that would have been a whole load of cord wasted. Whereas if I keep it on the roll, then I know that I can just pull that off and carry on whatever. Let me just unpick a little bit of this and find out how wide I cut it, because then we'll know where we are, won't we? Right, I want to talk about, because we keep having messages from people who are using their Unpicker for the first time and going, oh, it doesn't work. The blade wobbles, it's not safe and secure. No. If your blade is wobbling, you haven't put it in the right way round. So I did just want to show you how to do that. I'm just being careful not to unpick my cord at the same time. Bear with me, caller. This was all show prep that I meant to do. Just imagine me, Claire, on the bus, doing my homework. Because I'd been in the car doing it, I would have been told off. And probably with good reason. Right. So let's very quickly talk about this. If you've gone for this stitch unpicker, can you please note, right, I've seen a lot of people put the blade in the other way up. Now look, the blade here, you can see there's a line. Can you see there's a diagonal line? There is a matching diagonal line to your blade, all right? And for that blade to be secure in there, that blade needs to follow the line of that diagonal. Can you see? I don't know if I can get it even closer. Here. Yeah. Can you see? That is the edge of my blade there, in line with that there. And that's how it has to sit. And then you tighten that so it doesn't move around. It slides up, so that is held in place there, that is held in place there, and that doesn't move, that doesn't wobble. So that's how you need to put it in. And if you don't put it in that way, you've put it in the wrong way around. Please go and adjust it. And that means it will work perfectly, perfectly, I tell you, perfectly. Right, let's have a quick look. Haha, 1.5 inches. Oh look, 1.5 inches. Lady Luck is smiling upon us. So yeah, if you know the width of your binding and of your piping, I keep calling it binding, you know what I mean, of your piping cord, then you just need to pretty much double that and then add on your seam allowance either side. But for this, I did not know. I did not know. I did not know. So yeah. But I will work out a proper formula for you, and add that on. So if you need to add binding onto, I keep calling it a binding strip, you know what I mean, but I'm just going to make a longer run of this. So like you would, oh no, that's wrong, isn't it? There we go. As you would make your binding, if you are going to do curves. So if I'd got my Creative Grids curve corner, grid and curved those corners, it would look gorgeous, but I would need then to go for a bias binding. Okay, so I'd have to cut this on the bias, which is great, and it's going to give you a beautiful finish. However, if you want to save your fabrics, if you don't have enough fabric, because bias takes up a lot of fabric. If you don't have that, then do you know what? You are just going to want to do straight binding, which is what I've got here. It's just a straight strip of fabric, and we're going to do square corners on here. So it really doesn't matter. Okay, there's a different technique for curved corners, a different technique for straight piping. Now we've drawn diagonally across there, and I'm going to stitch across there. But first of all, I'm going to change my foot. Now look at the foot that is going on for piping. If you have got a zipper foot, put that on. If you have got such thing, and I didn't know what it was, it's called a half foot. And again, I was like, what is this half foot? But if you've got a half foot, lots of people use that. Just turn this off as I switch things over. And basically, a half foot is literally half a foot. So that you get, it's basically another, it's effectively a zipper foot. But it just means that my needle is going to go into that cutout gap. So we're going to get nice and close. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I'm trying to do this all round the wrong way. Ding, ding, ding. It's a good job I turned it off, isn't it? Ba, 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 ba. There we go. Beautiful. And turn it back on again. Hurrah! But this is how you will, so yeah, stitch all of your fabric together for your piping so that you have one long length. Okay, you can either get your grid and cut it, or you can just snippety snip, and then that's going to give you a nice long continued length. So let's come back over to here. Let's very quickly just press that open. Dink, dink, dink. So you're going to have one nice long edge. And the reason, even though this is straight binding, the reason that we do it that way is, if you imagine, I'm going to have to shimmy this down a little bit. Oh, this is a very tight fit, isn't it? Ah, that's not going to work then, is it? Right, we're going to have to start this from scratch. Yeah, it doesn't want to pull down, but it does want to go up. So we'll just do a few lengths of that. Let's cut one from, no, have I got enough? Have I got enough? Have I? Yeah, you see, look, I'm using leftover scraps now because I started using this to back cushions and stuff. So I'm going to have to do a few little bits of this, or we can edge it in a different fabric. Like, we also have that choice that we could do. You see, this is it all. I'm down to scraps now. We're all good. Probably easier just to have started it from scratch. 1.5. The beauty of the creative grid is that every time you get a 1.5, you get a little star. Hurrah! And then we can just add all those together and we are good to go. I will eyeball these, but just, you know, talk amongst yourselves. Yes, so the reason that we do it this way is because when it is on your cushion, when you get to that point where you are stitching over that lump, it's going to be one heck of a chunk to go over a straight seam allowance. Whereas if it's on the bias, it's easier. It looks a bit better too. So that's why. That is why. So if you are doing this, I chain piece this so that then I know that I've got everything that I need. Find the end, and again, just make sure that you're putting them right sides together. I've done that a few times, and that you're always stitching to that bottom right hand corner. One last one to add, and then we'll get cracking on that piping. There we go. Yeah, there's nothing worse. When you make binding out of planes, you don't have to think about right sides together. They just is, isn't it? But as soon as you know, you start doing anything with a colour to it, with a pattern to it, you of course have to think. Now, because I have done it in, you know, it's all bundled up there because I, what's the word I want? What did I just do? Chain pieced. That's the one. It's not a difficult word, but apparently I have lost the words today. It just means that as I snip each of those, I can then just trim and do myself a double check that I did in fact do these right sides together. Almost like I've got to be on the ball. And then just trim those open. You are very good and patient with me, I have to say. You can just finger press it open if you want. If you want to be all swanky pants about it, give it a quick press. But again, you know, this doesn't matter that I've used my leftovers here, because you're really, really, really not with this fabric going to notice. If you're using like a more abstract-y fabric, then, you know, maybe take a look and make sure you haven't got like one chunk of colour just suddenly stop and start with another chunk of colour. Do take a look at that. But this is all, it's only two-tone, so we're okay. There we go. Look at that. Quick, quick, quick. All right. So, here we go. You are going to fold the fabric in half with your piping cord in the middle. Now, as long as the overlap is at least 1/4 of an inch, you're all right. You can trim it back if you want to later, or if you are making like a professional one, then you would probably, you can overlock. You can go back through and overlock it so that it's never gonna, you know, if you're selling these cushions, then overlocking or over edge stitching or zigzag stitching on that, just so that people can put their cushions through the wash and stuff like that without it all fraying inside, is great. But if you're just making for your own self, then, you know, if you choose to do that, then that's up to you. I know that I've got certain cushions that I've made that I've washed and washed and washed, and they have frayed on the inside, but that's, you know, they are also very old now. So let's take a look at what we do here. So we've got our bit of cord, piping cord sticking out the end there. If you want, you can have this side, this top side, ever so slightly longer, because then as soon as you put that foot on, it kind of lines it all up, because it pushes in. Now with your nail, I just sort of push that cord right up into that crease, so that then as I stitch, I am stitching right up against that crease. So fold it in half, use your nail, and just make sure you can then stitch right up against it. If you want to do this on a longer stitch length, then do. You are basically just basting this shut, all right? And also then, if you've done this in a contrast thread and it shows at any point, then you can always unpick it with ease. But as this is coming through, I'm just making sure, stopping to realign, just making sure that, yep, that is in that middle bit. There we go. So that you have, to start off with, your really tight binding. Round, tightly bound, if you will, piping cord. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. So you've really pushed that up in that edge. So your zipper foot means that you can get right up, or your half foot means that you can get right up against it. And I just slowed down a little bit there because look, I've gone over where that was joined, but you just can't see that join, because of course, whilst, you know, we know that it's there, in fact I can't even see it now, whilst we know that it's there, the amount that you will actually see on the edge of your piping is going to be minuscule. So again, just keep lining it up. Takes a little bit of time. But it's all good. Again, we're coming up to another join. In just 1 second. So I will just slow down, because again we're going over quite a few layers. You can just hear just a slight change in tone as it goes over it, because you're going over suddenly some more layers. Should have measured how much we actually needed. How much have we got? How much have we got there? Anywho. I do want to do this because I want to show you how to finish it off. It's really easy to just show how to do a little bit and then not finish it off. But I do really want you to see how it's finished off. Gone a little bit off kilter there because I'm chatting as well, but we are nearly there, nearly there. I mean, if you wanted to clip this in place beforehand, then you can, but it's just as easy. You'd still be stopping to take the clips out, so you may as well stop to realign it manually, to be honest. But yeah, just make sure you get it pushed into that edge. One more little bit to go. And you know, when you do get towards the end, you can obviously just sort of hold it, and then it does sit more naturally into there. But just be careful with some machines. If you apply any pull, it's going to shorten that stitch length. This one's pretty robust. It doesn't really care. It's like, I'm still stitching. Although I have to say, yesterday when I was stitching around my applique, and I did have Naughty Morty basically sat on top of it the whole time, so there are bits where my stitching is a slightly uneven because it had to pull not just the fabric but a kitten through on it as well. And I suddenly thought afterwards, why didn't I just shut him in another room? But I guess it's one of those things, isn't it? You know, we have animals around us because we love them, and they have to be, you know, there are so many parts of the house they can't go in because we can't have them on the fabrics and whatnot. So when it's actually just me, like HP likes to sit on the doorstep of the warehouse and look longingly. We're like, nah, can't go in there. Right, okay, so that's that bit done, and you've got that all done there. And then, gosh, I've done quite a lot, yeah. Quite a lot, and I've now just pulled that out. This, do you know what? I've got really used to this. It is weird because it does it sideways. But I was using the beast, the actual beast, the other day, and yeah, remembering to put my needle in the other way. Slightly unusual. Right, let's talk about placement. So when we place this, we need to think about how our cushions sit. So what I would say to you is that if your cushion is on the sofa, often we pile other cushions next to them, or they're obviously sat. So my favoured place to put it, to start it, is down here. Because then any join at the end, you're just not going to see because the cushion's going to sit on it. And it's just not in a really obvious place. I mean, here is great as well. And then, you know, if there's a cushion, maybe it's covering it or whatever. It's not that obvious. So around here is where I want to start and finish. Okay, so as much as I have just stitched all of that, I am now going to unpick. Where is my unpicker? What did I just do with it? I also use the little snippety things as well. They are rather fabulous for unpicking also. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I don't like these things to feel left out. So just unpick it, you know, the first few inches. And then we're going to start stitching on. So again, you can base this in place if you want. Dee, 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 dee. Bear with me, caller. Bear with me. I messed up checking out and lost out on some of my fabric. Lesson learned. Oh, Sue, what are we out of? What are we out of? Oh yeah, no, don't shilly-shally, dilly-dally. So you do just want to unpick. I'm being really careful just not to catch my piping cord as I go. There we go. But I've actually been thinking I just wouldn't have stitched that much. Right, so again, raw ends, a bit like the flange. Raw ends are going to go to the base there. If you want to, if that is more than 1/4 of an inch and you want to trim it back or anything like that, or you're overlocking, an overlocker will just trim that back anyway because it will go up against there and it's going to give you a really nice finish. So if you do have an overlocker, that is fabulous because you can see already just a little bit of fray. Where I've unpicked it, I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start stitching from there, and it is right sides together, and we're going to place that along there, and we're going to stitch right up against it. And again, you can base this if you want. I'm going to go with a normal length stitch, but if you want to baste it, that's absolutely fine. Okay, let's go to the machine. So again, as we just did, we line up all those raw edges, and you can always overlock it afterwards if you want to. And we're going to, with those edges aligned, and again stitch right up against it. And again, I would use a thread that's going to coordinate so that if you do see a little bit of stitch, it's not the end of the world. Hello. Oh, beautiful, Jem. Beautiful. Right. Thank you. Now, we're working on about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Maybe it's a little bit more. So before we get down to that corner, you can, I mean, gosh, if I want to be really pedantic, how wide am I there? Oh god, yeah, okay, a little bit. It is more than 1/4 yeah, it is more than 1/4 of an inch. It's more like 3/8. So what I would do, tiddly snips to the rescue, is whatever width this is that we're stitching down between the cord and your edge. If it's more than 1/4 of an inch, then just go with what you've got. Make a little mark. To that amount. Get your little fine snips and snip into leaving a little gap before those stitches where you've stitched everything down. You do not want to cut up to the stitches, or you will just undo everything. We've stitched as far, we've snipped the seam allowance basically in from the corner, which means that we can now turn this absolutely on a right angle, and that will all line up again. But it really is absolutely square. And as I'm coming down now, I'm going to just come around that corner really tight. I mean, like really tight. Because I want that to be, and because I'm right up against my foot, I've now lined everything up again. And that is, you can see, really right angle. And I've never managed to get that before with my piping, so I was like, right, this is it. This is the way. But it's not the sort of thing that you can really cut into in advance, because, you know, fabrics move. If you pull on them a little bit, then it might shift a little bit, and you just don't necessarily want that. So again, I'm coming up to the next corner. So I'm going to measure up what I know I've got sort of seam allowance wise, mark it, snip just off my stitch line. I will continue down and again I can move that foot around. I can keep that straight, and of course, and this is the other thing, it doesn't matter how many yards of piping you make, at some point where you have joined it is going to be on that folded corner. Now, if we had done our binding, if we had just done it end on end and not diagonally when we joined it, that would not want to bend as neatly as it has done. It just wouldn't.
The beautiful central panel, your Brook Indigo fabric.
My Brook Indigo fabric, yeah.
I'm going to load some more inventory.
You're going to load some more inventory because it's sold out. Yeah, we did. I bought an extra bolt, didn't I?
Yeah. How much did you use so far?
I've had a half metre.
Only a half metre?
I've had only a half. I know, right?
Oh.
I feel I've been quite conservative.
I've taken 2 units off anyway, just to be safe. I don't want to oversell.
No, we do not want to oversell. So,
We will combine their
was that Sue that missed out, who went, oh, I've just missed out because I waited too long? Okay, so we will load this next bolt for you, Sue. So if you missed out on the Brook fabric, if you missed out on this fabric, if you just, are we going to automatically combine if we see anyone? Just pop a note on your order, please combine postage. We will see that, and we're not going to charge you double the postage, don't worry. Just pop a note on. We can do it on the day. If you leave it till the next day, it's harder, and we can't combine. Obviously, if you bought yesterday, that sales sheet's already been exported, so we can't do anything about that. But on the day, if you place, and this is, you know, this is normal, if you place more than one order on the day, just pop a little note on and we can always combine that for you. So, and as you can see, that is a really, really neatly piped corner. And this is changed piping corners for me. Using this foot, I can use the foot to make sure that I'm straight. Because it's a zipper foot, it's got like quite a lot going on at the front. But I'd never been as organised as to actually measure my my seam allowance in, if you see what I mean, to make sure that I was absolutely coming around that corner. And it might be that you just want to push that over a little bit, that cord over a little bit, so that you don't stitch on top of that. But here we go, we're nearly to that end, and then I can show you how we're going to finish off this piping. Here we go, last corner. They do say repetition, isn't it, is how we're going to learn here. That's fine. So we're learning there. All right, so nearly there. And as my foot comes to where I've cut into that seam allowance, that's when I'm just going to move that around. Lift my foot. I've realigned my seam already. I'm going to come down, do a couple of stitches on an angle just to catch that. Right, we are very nearly at the end, so we're going to stop there and come to here. So let's just cut that there. Right, and then you see I haven't wasted all of that cord. So, oh, look at those edges. I'm a bit chuffed with that. And you can see as we've come around, you know, they're really beautifully crisp. Really beautifully crisp, and it just they're an absolute joy. So, and again, if you want to, if you've got your overlocker, if you wanted to instead, you could overlock around all of those edges. It's up to you. Right, so let's have a look at this edge. We've got overlap, haven't we? So here's what we're going to do. A bit of the binding that we didn't use, and at this point what you're going to do is use that as your guide. Okay, so I'm going to mark. Where's my marker pen? Will I just do it? Honestly, this is why I need about 26 different marking tools. Don't know if this will even show, but use your width of your unstitched piece to mark your fabric. So I'd mark on, there it is, and then cut this side back so that you've got overlap on both sides there. Okay, now we're going to unpick that to about there. Aha! This is what I was talking about. This one's ace as well. Well, unpick it. What have I done to these? To just past that mark so that I can open this up fully. Now, normally I leave a great long lead on this, and I realise that actually that has confused me in the past, because what I've done when I've left like loads and loads and loads of length is I've got everything a bit twisted, and that's no good. So we're going to go right sides together, And again, so you see there's not a lot spare. I've done this before where I've left so much I've twisted it. If you need to mark that diagonal on with your ruler, then do. But otherwise, you see, when that is then done, because we're right sides together, that will then go into that. Okay. So. Right sides together there. And stitch. I always get a bit nervous. I think because this has gone wrong for me in the past, before I started using this method, before, you know, when I used to leave quite a lot. You can pin this, by the way, if you don't want it to shift. I still do doubt myself. And I think that's, you know, we all have those things that we doubt. But what I would say is, before you cut that off, just check that actually yes, I have done that right, and that will sit in there. Okay. Have I though? No, I've twisted it again. Have I? Have I? Yes, I have twisted it. See, this is it. So this is just double check. And it's as simple as that to do, to just put a little twist in it. So let's just see that out, shall we? And make sure that that we just don't do that again. I don't know why I do that. But again, this is just double check yourself. Just unpick that. It's not the end of the world now, okay? But if you've trimmed that edge back, it will be. You won't have enough fabric to finish this off. Of course I back-tacked, making sure it was nice and secure. Of course I did. I think it's now become one of those things that because I did it wrong once, it just... No. Come on. Yeah, there's me making sure that it's all nice and secure. God blimey. Shall I pretend that I did that on purpose so that if it happens to you, you'll know what to do? Shall I? Yeah. You see that things can move, can't they? It's like when you stitch just basic squares together and you manage to sew on the wrong side from just picking it up and moving it. Right, I really now need to work this out. So, oh, it was all going so well, wasn't it? Bear with me. Yes, I did do that lovely holding back tack stitch. Well done me. Okay, so it's coming along like that. Oh, I've just made it far more difficult than it ever needed to be. Basically, we can keep that like that, and then that's going to go on there. Yeah, it's just the other way around. I twisted that the wrong way. Let me just double check that. A lot of you will probably be shouting at it going, you've done it wrong again. It's because when it's stitched, I want it to all come down there like that. But in order for that to be the case, I'm worried. Am I going to do this the wrong way again? Nah. That's it. I just put them, do you know, as simple as putting one on top of the other the wrong way around. Yeah, look at that. If we can find a solution here and now, then we'll write that, I'll write that into the instructions before they go out so that nobody else makes that same mistake. So let's just double, but this is why you double check it. Look, you see that's fine. Is that right? No, look, I've stitched it on the wrong, oh, for goodness sakes. Now I didn't put them on the sides together. Do you know what? This is every which way you shouldn't do it. They should have been back. Oh my goodness me. Right, third time will be the charm. If, you know, once something goes wrong. How many of you were shouting at me then? You need to put them right sides together. How many of you? I could have sworn I had them right sides together, honestly. But that's the thing, isn't it? And often, I don't know if you find that, sometimes you just need to step away from something because it feels like it's going all sorts of wrong. Now, if this had happened on, you know, when I'm working on a Selly Telly show, they'd just put a different, you know, they'd go and have a look at the fabrics or what have you, and that's absolutely fine. But I don't know if you actually learn. Like now, I have no idea if that's right or wrong, if I'm honest. Does it need to go that way? It's about the only way. I haven't tried it now, isn't it? Jane! Which way round is it? See, now I'm so perturbed. Yeah, Jane, I've got myself in a bit of a situation. When you put the binding, I've just sewn it the wrong way, and now I'm really paranoid I'm going to sew it the wrong way again. Is it, have I got that so that when it's stitched, it'll go flat? Here we go, Jane's hands in.
You need to have that one going that way.
Yeah.
And that one going that way. So when you put them together, you put them at right angles, right sides together.
I've basically done it every other way and shown everyone every other way.
There we go. That's the way you need to do it.
It's not how my brain works. I'm going to keep a hold of that.
Okay.
Yes. Are you sure?
Yes.
Sure. Jane can write that bit of the instructions. This is why we have Jane. You see, I got really caught up in getting my edges absolutely perfect, and then thought, oh no, that bit's fine. Good old Jane, always to the rescue. Right, we all need a Jane. Oh yeah, no, you see, she's got that absolutely right. And then you can cut it. But I have to say, I will never do that wrong again. Now I know. Now let's have a look at this. So finger press that open like that. And then at this point, you just want to make sure that, no, look. There we go. That will lie along there like that. And at this point, lie those next to each other. Put your scissors underneath them and cut. And then they will sit. Okay, and then you can do that. And you can then just stitch along there and finish that piece of binding off perfectly. Now, let's have a close-up on these corners. There you go. That's what you're looking for in these corners. Okay? And then when you put your... I'm not showing you again ever, Geraldine. That's now my nemesis. It's like zips and how I steer clear of zips forever. But no. It's all good. It's all good. So, Oh my goodness me. All fun. Yeah, so that's how you want that corner to look. And then when you put your back on, whether you've popped a zip in or whatever, or whether you're doing an envelope back, again, you want to stitch right in there as if you're stitching in a zip, having that foot right up against there, and then it will come out and round like that. And how smart is that going to be? Okay. We need to look at applique. Hooray! Oh my goodness. Do you know what? Nothing in life is entirely perfect, is it? And you may just well see it as it really is. Because I will now make sure that when those go into the instructions, I will pay special attention. I will revisit those and make sure that it really is clear for you. Because if I've made the mistake twice live, I don't want you making it, because it obviously means that it's a mistake that is easy to make. So I will make sure, that is my promise to you, that those instructions are super, super, super clear. Where is my lid? Oh, there's my pen. Where's my lid? Ah, right. Let's have a little look at applique. Now, when we start with this, let me give this a little press. It's got a little bit crumpled. You will do your sashing like we've just done, not with a flange, just the sashing, and apply steam, I think. And you will do all of that before you start on this bit, but we've just shown you how to sash and all that, so we don't need to do that again. And there were just a few little bits, because it's a pretty simple applique, but there are just a few little things that I just wanted to show you. Okay. Again, you have got a fat quarter of this. If you want to, there it is. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's just so gorgeous. And the first thing that you will do is piece your pattern together. There are numbers on all of these. There are numbers so that you know what order to put them in on. Okay, and you can see that's just got the seam allowance. That's why this is sitting a little bit bigger. So, few things that I want you to do. I thought about giving this to you the wrong way round, but I haven't, for the simple reason that some of you will use a light box, some of you will use the window, some of you, you might want to repeat it, but if you want to put the placement, if you want to place things exactly as I have, this is your copy paper, or it's called lots of different things, but this is basically your copy paper. Now, when you've put this into the frame, it's going to sit exactly within your seam. Now, the other thing is, this is dressmaker's carbon paper. It comes in various different colours, so that you've always got a colour that's going to contrast. If you've got the Natasha Makes Applique Nice to Have But Not Essential kit from last week, then you will have one of these. And this is perfect to use, or an old pen that doesn't run out of ink. And you can just go in there, and you can mark on and it's really, really faint, so just start to get an idea of how firm you need to be. But that's why I've gone with something that's quite blunt, but this will give you your placement, same as with the Lisa Chandler. Now I can see that, but don't know if it's going to show up on the camera. I can see that very, very faint placement there, but again, just go in again until you get, I mean, that would be fine for me. It's just not picking it up on the camera. Or try a different colour. Yellow is often quite good on this as well, because what you're looking for is a colour that isn't already in there, so that it doesn't sort of blend in. And I'm using the back end of that to transfer. You don't want a lot on there to be transferred a lot on there, if I'm honest. Just enough that you can see. Yeah, again, I can see it, but I'm not sure if it's going to show up on the cameras. Can you see it just coming in down there? And the other one goes up there and down there and along. Don't know if you can see it. It's really hard to see. But that basically down will do that. So you want to just, and it's not even that you want to necessarily transfer the whole pattern, but key areas you might want to, like the start and finish of your tree or something like that is always a good bit to do. Now, what I actually want to add on to here, on the pattern when you get it, it will have, and I haven't transferred these marks across to here, when you get a dotted dashed line like that, all it means is that there was something placed over the top of it. You're still going to cut out this branch in one piece. You can see the dotted lines down here and across there. You're still going to do it in one piece. Now I'm going to use a light box. If you don't have a light box, use the universal light box, otherwise known as the window. Yes, that old one. And you will have to flip it. Okay, this light box has got, there you go, can you see that? Several light settings. And this is because, well, the light settings aren't because of that. I'm going to use a backed adhesive. Okay, so what I'm using is, oh no, wrong scissors, steam to seam. All right. And I'm going to place that over the top, yellow side up. There's paper on both sides. And the reason that I use steam to seam as opposed to Bonder-Web, and Bonder-Web is great, it's got its place, absolutely, is because that is under there, when it's gone, you peel that off, I'll show you in a minute, but it provides a tack, which means that you can then readjust, which is fab. So, and again, if you've got the nice to have but not essential applique kit, then you will have a fine Sharpie in there. And you just want to go around and trace on. And you might need to readjust slightly. This light box I think cost me like 11 quid off Amazon. So I don't stock them because there's no way that I could ever compete with that price, quite frankly. So I don't. And we won't do all of this. I'll pop the branch on and show you. So the branch is it's number one. It's the very first thing that you will put on. Where are we going there? Do. So let's bring that down there and that up there. And that around there. Now, this is a little case in point. You can see this little bud here. So this bud sits on the base there. If actually no, there's a better example. If, like, when you get to all the leaves, and they are all numbered, but if there is overlap, you can either, you know, do absolutely where that overlap is. So if I were to draw this onto here, that's my leaf there, and actually where the other one goes around there, what I will do is actually bring that line round as if I'm doing the full leaf and then overlap it, and it just means I don't have to be super duper accurate. So that's the only thing that I wanted to say, because the flowers you're going to cut in one go. And okay, so I mean that goes through to there, but again, you don't need to draw, because you're going to cut this out in one piece. You don't need to draw those dotted lines in. Again, they're just something that you might want to transfer onto your piece. But I have drawn these on with the number for you to add them onto. Oh, hang on, I've missed out a bit. Whee! It goes there, but that's all hidden by a leaf anyway. So that is my tree. That is my branch. What I will invest in at some point is a larger one. Now, I would rough cut this and save all of these bits for all of your flowery bits. Nothing is wasted. So just rough cut around. And again, if you've got quite a sharp pair of scissors, again, these are my paper scissors. They've got paper written on there. I have sharpened them because actually I cut all my fabric adhered pieces out with these as well. So I do try and keep these, you know, a little bit sharp. They're just never going to be as sharp as my full-blown fabric ones, but and the more of that you can save, you know, the more leaves and whatnot you can do with it. Woohoo! And you might go, oh gosh, she's really being frugal with it. Yeah, because that is enough to do the centre of your flowers. So don't throw any of it away. Oh, actually, I didn't need to cut that bit out, did I? No. There we go. So you see, all of that will then do all of your flowers, etc., etc. So then I'm going to move my mat out the way. Bring my pressing mat across. Whee! Get my fat quarter. Ooh, it's a bit lush, isn't it? Beautiful. It's your bluebell. And this is where our pressing mats are fab for this. Absolutely fab. Now you're going to keep that yellow side up and peel off the other side. You can use Bondaweb, you can use Mr. Fuse, you can use all of those things. You'll cut this to size, by the way. Actually, you don't need to, do you? So, what am I saying? There we go. because this now has a repositionable tack when we take this bit off. So that goes down there like so, and then you want to steam this, you want to not steam it, just heat press it. So you don't steam yet. So take the steam is off. And just press that on. What are we doing? We are activating that bottom, that adhesive onto there. So that is going to be onto that bottom piece of fabric there. Okay. When you apply the steam, that's when it will become permanent. So what this does is apply it to the fabric. Brilliant. It's exactly what we want. And it will leave it tacky, so that we can play around, we can fold bits up, put bits under. This is why it's so perfect for applique, because you can fold bits up, put bits underneath, layer things up, and if you've got things around the wrong way or whatever, as happens with applique, it actually doesn't matter. So just don't go peeling this off until it's cool. Now I use my paper scissors, like I say, I have sharpened them so that they will go around fabric again. Oh, the concentration, hey. It might be that your second best scissors, not your first best fabric scissors, you might want to use for these, but personally, I would sharpen up your paper scissors and go in with those. Because you do want to have a nice edge to this. You are going to stitch around. Now, let's talk about that. I have blanket stitched all around here. I wanted this to be a beautiful applique with William Morris fabrics, which means it's quite busy. Now that is two things. Firstly, it is very forgiving on your stitches if you are not perfect at stitching. Great, doesn't matter. So that's great. If you want to straight stitch it. If you want to free motion it. That is all entirely up to you. I have in the instructions suggested a length and a width for a blanket stitch that I used. Okay, and that is my preferred length and stitch for this that I found worked all the way through. Use it or not, that's entirely up to you. Entirely up to you. What I would say is for the flowers, and we'll get onto those in a minute, they are, there we go. So the flowers are all done in the jasmine, but there's nothing to stop you from mixing it up and doing it in the same fabric that we use for the border. Like I say, you've got 8 fat quarters in that kit, so what you choose to use is entirely up to you. You have plenty, and here we go. If you've got the NX7, of course, you've got the mirror stitch function, which I completely forgot about until Jane went, oh, did you use the mirror stitch to just flip it around? It's like, No, because I completely forgot that I had that function. But yeah, if you're someone with one of the NXs, you do have that mirror stitch. So because obviously blanket stitch goes in just one way, but then if you want to go around the other way, just mirror that stitch off, which is very, very clever. There we go. So this will be the first piece that you will put down, because everything builds from here. So again, if you've got a directional fabric, just make sure when you come to layer everything up that you have done it. There we go. And then just peel all of that back. Bit of it might stick to itself, that's absolutely fine. And I'm going to put that in the corner. Now remember, I've got my seam allowance, so I will just leave that, because at some point I will make this one up as well. And then what I would suggest you do with this is just find where that end is going to sit, and then put that main branch down, and then everything else just sort of lines up from there. And that's your main branch, and then everything else comes off that. So if we have a look at on here, if we put this one on, for instance, in fact we'll do that and that bit. Here they are, bink, bink, bink. There we go. So let's get a scrap of fabric here. I'm going to fit it all on. Ooh, 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 ooh. You might want to jiggle it around a bit. Yeah, look at that, like a gnat's whisker. So, oh, I've managed to pull out the entire pen end. There we go. Now you can see on here you've got like overlap lines, but ignore those for now. And just do the outside. I have tried both ways of putting these petals down, and believe you me, it is far more hassle when you can just add the detail in later to do the petals individually. One of the flowers up there I did with the individual petals, and to be honest, you wouldn't know which one it was. So this is the other reason why I say, use every little scrap. That's my center. And then over here, here's my dotted line. Okay. Again, rough cut them. There are not loads and loads, and you might say, well, why are you making double the amount of work for yourself? Well, because here's the thing, I don't want to waste my fabric, and I don't want to waste my steam to seam, so I save all my little bits, and but it's hard to cut. If I cut that exactly on the line, it would be really, really, really hard to cut it again on that exact same line. So you're going to end up then with some fray, which you don't want. So now find your fabrics that you want to use. So I did my fabrics. This is the honeysuckle. You can put things around whichever way you want. Some of them I used directionally, others I didn't. Oh, it does help, doesn't it? I'm going to have to let that cool down. If you do that because you're used to working with Bondaweb and you forget to take off the back, just let it cool, because by applying the heat you've already started to activate that glue. So just let it cool. It doesn't matter. Just let it cool. Pop this one. Let's try this one out of some of this. There we go. Yeah, now that's cooled. Otherwise, if you try and pull it off too soon, it's nearly cooled, but it might just distort the glue a little bit. It's not the end of the world. Again, we are going to applique these down with stitch these down with a blanket stitch or stitch of your choice. There we go. And then this one, I had lots of fun putting these onto the actual apples so that they were the same sort of apple-y shape, which was fun. But you see, that's the really nice thing about it. It doesn't, because it's already got that tack, it doesn't shift. And then just cut these out. I've tried to put as many hints and tips in as I can. There we go. And like I said, I've given you so much extra fabric because, you know, I don't know which bits you're going to want to fussy cut. I haven't put the strawberry thief bird in. If you've got some strawberry thief kicking about, you might want to add in your own little bird. He was just sort of a little bit of a fun afterthought. But he doesn't have to go in there. We are nearly done. Gosh, I've just looked at the time. Sorry everyone, what a super long show this has been. Would have been done by now if it wasn't for that pesky bit. Thank goodness for Jane. There we go. I never want to eat too much into sort of your afternoon. Oh. Have you remembered that this week is, of course, the last Friday of the month, which means that we have got a super special guest at the end of the month. And that super special guest is Jenny Raymond. Woohoo! Very exciting. Now, here we go. You can use this as your guide if you want to on your placement. But, basically, this is going to go under there on a bit of a slant. And again, if you want to use some carbon paper to find out exactly where, then you can. Of course you can. Whew. And then this one overlaps there. If you've still got this piece here, and if you did denote that dot bit, then you can always turn that over, pop that on there, and know that actually that's going to be your placement there, because that's how it's going to overlap. But again, this is all just a guide, and that's your flower on, and then that's your centre there. if you want to use your copy paper to trace the markings on, or if you just want to go in with a fabric marker and just copy them off there, you know, then do. And all I'm doing, and these can just be straight stitched on, the detailing on the petals. Okay. And then if you want to know which petal sort of overlapped what, then again just copy it off there. That one came down, so that when you start to do your blanket stitch, you'd start there and go up and round there. So plan your route. That's all I would say about that. Plan your route. But I did just want to show how to mark up these petals. Now you can see there that actually pops that there. There we go. So that's going to go around there. That starts from there anyway. That goes across there. And the really beautiful thing about using the steam to seam for applique is that I can move this and change. If that's not in the right place, I just pull it down and reposition it. It's got that tack. And the detailing on here comes with having a dark thread. Okay, so if you, I went in with a dark brown because that one is what goes around. So that's it, and that's just it. So then you just blanket stitch around the edges and straight stitch through there. But I did just want to show that. And again, you know, I didn't cut that piece with that chunk out. I cut it there so that I could then lay it over the top. There you go. So that's that. That's how you do it, and just lay those leaves up. But you might just want to, if I was going to copy, if I was going to carbon paper any bit, it might be this bit. But again, I like the fact that all of these will be ever so slightly different, and that's absolutely fine. I didn't struggle, but you see just here, I know that that is going to sit on top because that's number 13. It comes after 12. So I might want that piece to just be a little bit larger, so that you can just layer it over, so that you don't have to be absolutely dead on accurate. But again, that is up to you. It's just my suggestion. Where I would really, you know, use a, you know, not do tiddly iddly little bits, you'll see that dashed line, so you know to just trace that and just go through there. But this is just technique that you will have or not. It's entirely up to you. So that is going to enable you to then make that. There you go. Yeah, with optional bird. And that's that, everyone. I'm really sorry. I don't want to eat into everyone's afternoon. But yeah, Jenny Raymond is here on Friday. I'm here again tomorrow with some Tilda stuff. Jane is here then on Wednesday with a beautiful cathedral window. And that's how the week is shaping up here at Natasha Makes. Anything that I need to know? Doesn't she do lots of folded quilty type thing, or am I confusing her with somebody else? She does all of that. She's a very, very clever lady. And lots of you were asking for Jenny Raymond. So, you know, I add a word and she will be here. Gemma Mama. Oh, a few little extra goodies. Yes, 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 yes. So this is the other thing. I know that a lot of you will be wanting to make wash bags, and because William Morris is perfect for him, isn't it? So I got in for you. Him or her, yeah. Some beautiful pleathers. Do you want to have a quick look at these? In fact, if I move this out of the way, you can see why I went for the colours I went for. So, this one here, oh, overhead is going to help. That one there is your copper. That is your dark brown. That is your light gold, beautiful. And that is your pewter, and they just work so beautifully with it. They do. Yeah. So if you want these by the half metre, they are up and available for you. Do you think that we should do a fat quarter bundle of the 4?
We can do.
I think maybe we should. If people want it, let me know. Show us a little bit of love for that, and if you want it, we can do that. But I find this, I use this a lot. I use this,
Versatile.
the pouched, the pocketed pouch. I use this for, and that makes fab because then it's a wash bag, and then it's got a waterproof wash base. So there we go. That's also added onto the show for you today. And that. Have I forgotten anything else, Gemma?
The
You
only
can
other
be in
thing
my
is
brain.
I've just tagged in some creative grids that come back in stock.
You've put some creative grids that are
I
back
know
in
people
stock.
Wanted. So the 6.
Well, hang on a minute. Like what?
Smaller ruler.
The smaller ruler. Oh, the 6.5 by 12.5.
Yeah, and the
Nice.
Perfect 5.
And the Perfect
yeah,
5
just put
and a few other little bits and pieces. So just have a look under the show on the website, www.natashamakes, and then if you click on watch live, then underneath, you don't have to watch it all again, underneath, or well, you can if you want.
Make it Monday.
Oh, make it Monday. Yeah,
collection as well.
either way, just make it Monday and everything will come up. That's the joy of tagging all these things. Oh, yeah. So I think a fat quarter bundle is required as well. We can do that. I've got stuff stuck to my foot. Right, everybody, thanks for bearing with me. Mistakes and all. We are a warts and all place. Yeah, that's the truth of it, isn't it? Take care. Have a lovely rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Bye-bye.